boxing trainer Paddy Fitzpatrick joins me now on Your Sport Swindon. How you doing, Paddy?
Very good.
Good man. Luke Watkins was back in action recently at York Hall and got a fine points win. Talk to us about that.
It was a good win against a good man. You've got to step up levels as you go through your career, obviously, as you're trying to head towards titles. Early in a young pro's career, you're trying to get them fights with not necessarily someone who is a threat to them, but with somebody that offers them something. So facing a tall man, facing a southpaw, facing a strong man, facing a puncher. But you try and pick people who have only one attribute that they have to deal with, so that they can try and polish their technique and their skill set as they're going through. Then you get to a stage where you think, okay, well, we've dealt with that now. So Duke had dealt with quite a lot of different things and fighters with different attributes in his first 6 fights, and then it was time that you have to now test yourself to get to the little platform which to move on again from. And that's exactly what Tony Cruz was. He was a big guy. He was a bit bigger than Duke. He was, say, Enzo Maccarinelli's size. He was strong. He had done 8 rounds twice. I had watched him on YouTube, and every fight we see him in, he throws non-stop shots. Very good condition. So it was an excellent test, and it was the right one at the right time. It proved to be the right one at the right time.
Yeah. You said to me earlier that pretty much, tail of the tape between the pair, and there wasn't much separating them apart from you felt Luke had the greater skill set.
Yeah, I said to Duke leading up into the fight, you're always reminding a fighter when you're doing your sessions what your pluses are. You're always reminding them what the opponent's pluses are. But where the reason why we took this fight, because you have A, B or C that's going to deal with what he has. And I said to Duke, this guy's just as strong as you, he's just as fit as you. I said, he's bigger than you, he's extremely busy. And I could see Duke looking at me thinking, what the flipping hell reason am I taking the fight for? Where's my pluses? And I said, it's down to skill set. Down to skill set, I believe you have a greater skill set. Duke has got a world-class jab. After 6 fights, he really does. He can use it as a power weapon. He can be sharp with it. He's got good variation of it. He's excellent with his feet for a big man. He moves very, very well. And I saw the difference between in skill set. But Tony wasn't a man who was coming up there as an opponent. His record was 6-2. They contacted Steve Goodwin and said they want to fight Duke. You don't have a decent record of 6-2 and say, we want to fight this dude because we want to lose. He wasn't somebody who was there just to test up-and-coming fighters. He thought, this is my opportunity to get in the mix again. Because, as he said to us later on, he said, I can't get fights. People don't want to fight me. And I can see why. The man has a lot to offer. And it was a good performance from both men. But Duke won for the reasons I said, yeah.
Did you think that Luke may have had a chance to stop him at all, or was it always a case of it was likely going to be a points?
Likely going to be a points. Went into the fight believing and preparing the same way as you should with anyone. Even if you think that your man is going to stop, you should always prepare for full distance, so we did that. But even as the fight was going on, there was at any stage that Duke hurt him with shots, especially to the body. And he got him a lovely, beautiful right hand. Then after delivering rights to the body, he swapped it up and went to the head and buzzed him with a right to the head. But at no stage did I think, oh, jump on him, he's gone. It was always a case of just keep doing what we're doing. There's one of those fights where let's get the win. That's what we need out of this fight, to get the win. And he controlled it for the most part, got that. But it also proved a lot about him. You never know if your fighter has a good chin, and they don't know if they got a good chin until it gets tested. Now it's been tested with 16-ounce gloves and head guards, and I've thought, he can take a shot. Now I know he can take a shot, because he got drilled with an uppercut off Tony, just right through the middle. He got hit with a very good left hook, and then he got hit with a 3-piece combination in one round, one after the other. So, yeah, things we need to correct, but glad it happened for both of us. As the actual rounds went on, I got more comfortable with him being in a hard fight, as opposed to thinking, this is still a hard fight, this is still, you know. I got more comfortable because he took the left hook in the second round, and at the end of the second round I said to him, you've tasted his power now, how is it? And he went, yeah, you can punch. He said, but it's okay, I got it. And then it was either the third or fourth, he took a hellacious right uppercut. But he didn't even stutter. He just went, and he didn't try and survive until the buzz wore off. He went straight back to work, but he went back to work measured. So he learned a lot about himself, and he showed me even more about him.
I was going to say, in many respects, perfect learning fight for him.
Beautiful learning fight. Beautiful learning fight. There will be guys we come up against that might have more skill set than Tony in the next few fights, but it's very doubtful that they'll offer everything that Tony's offered. You know, if you watch his fights on YouTube, he's relentless, and he will go non-stop, round after round. So for big men, that's saying a lot. And he's big physically, and he's strong. But like I said, Duke will probably get tested by people who have probably a bit more going on, possibly in technique. And that's not to say he didn't have technique, but you know, more going on. But you're not going to come across too many men with everything that he had going on. So it was an excellent learning.
It sounds like it was a pretty big step forward for Luke. So what's next for him?
We're out again July 16. Then after the July fight, we go away to training camp for a little bit, come back, and there's possibility we might go for the southern area towards Wadi Camacho, and there's a possibility somebody's been talking to us about going for one of the international titles. We might do that, but between now and Christmas, I'm not in no over hurry with him. I think he's in an excellent position. I think that any of the men, if you take out Enzo McAnally and Over McKenzie and Tony Bellew, any of the other men above him, they're fights that I'm quite comfortable him being in with. But there are also fights now that the men directly above him, you'd want to have those fights. They're not learning fights now, they're fights that you'd want to have for a title of some description that's going to move him towards something. So July, possibly one before July, we might get out in June, and we are out in July, then we will be out again in September, and then we'll wait from there, because that will bring him up to 10. I want to put him in a position where he's a mandatory, or he's being seen as a threat to the other guys then by the other promoters. So that then sensible talks are definitely worth having, because he'll be in a position where if he's fighting your guy and you believe that he's a very good opponent, why not sign him as opposed to have your guy lose to him for no reason. But he's still in the learning stage, and you know, his ultimate goal is to be world champion. That's our ultimate goal as a team, for him to become world champion. I fully believe he can be, so does he. So everything that we do between now and then is to get him to that point. The general route to go would be a southern area, and then either an English and then a British and then a European and that, but that's not necessarily the only route to go. I think possibly one of the best fighter manager teams possibly that we've ever had would be David Hay and Adam Booth as a team. If you look what they achieved, that was Adam's first step into pro boxing. Obviously David's first step into pro boxing. And they became 2 or 3 belts cruiserweight and a heavyweight champion in the space of 25, 26 fights. That's going some. They didn't fight for a British title. They didn't fight for an area title to the best of my knowledge. They positioned themselves, got the right fights, got themselves up in the rankings into the Europeans, and went for that. That's also a route I'd look for Duke. It's not necessarily that we would go for the British title. Get ourselves in a position. He'd very much like to have the Irish title.
Right.
The Irish title will also get you then, because it's title of your country, also get a good position within European rankings, and fight the right guys there to manoeuvre you forward there. So you don't have to go the obvious route. The ultimate goal is a world title. everything that happens between now and then in his career is to position him for that and to prepare him for that. So we'll take our time and make the right moves at the right time.
Is the hardest thing now probably going to be matching Luke, getting opponents in that are prepared to take him on?
I don't think so yet at this stage. It's not like that everyone's looking at us and thinking, oh, Duke Watkins is an absolute beast, we've got to avoid him at all costs. You know, the other fighters out there in the division like Tommy McCarthy and all that, they're prepared to face the men in front of them too. So I don't think it's got to that stage yet, but it is at a stage where we're promoter free. So there's a lot of promoters would think, don't necessarily want to be giving him a shot at my guy for no reason. But when you're signing with a promoter, you want to make sure that what you're signing makes sense, especially if it's going to be a long-term deal. So we've just got to make sure that we pick and choose the right moves at the right time. But he sells well, and the amount of people that was at the York Hall cheering the place, you'd think he lived around the corner. So he sells well. More people are paying attention to him. It's not going to be ultimately the hardest thing to do to keep moving him forward. It gets harder, but that's part of the challenge as well, managing the right moves from his one. But something we both look forward to. You know, I know people in the States too. There's nothing to say we won't pop over there and have 1 or 2 fights. You know, spend a few months over there and have a couple of fights, train a camp and come back. But there's no rush. He's 26, baby in the division, especially in his size and weight. I still think he's growing.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Yeah. Will we see him out in Swindon again soon? Because you're keen to keep him in Swindon as much as possible as well.
Keen to keep him in Swindon as long as we can do the right thing by it. Nielsen's are promoting shows in the town now. There's a possibility that we could do something with them. There's also a possibility that we can come back in with King Kane Promotions and put on a show of our own. So there is other opportunities there. I chat to the Nielsens. There's always things that we can do there, but it has to make sense for them and for us. And at the moment, it doesn't make sense. You know, their first card that they're putting on is on June 10th. That card is stacked. It's on a small show, 500 capacity. So that's kind of more or less sold out. So having another fighter on there won't necessarily benefit them with ticket sales because it's already sold. But definitely want to keep making him available to the Swindon crowd, because I've said to you repeatedly, if you can't sell yourself at home, don't bother trying to sell yourself somewhere else. Plus, you don't want to all of a sudden think, I'm above that now and let me just move on. You're never above trying to do something at home with your hometown fans, and he has got a growing number of people getting behind him at home. So I would like to continue that route.
But all in all, very, very pleased with his progress.
Extremely pleased with his performance. Love his attitude. He becomes more and more professional every fight. He never gets tired of hearing reminders of what we need to pay attention to and the direction we need to go. And yeah, I'm blessed with him. I'm enjoying the journey.
Excellent. Well, you know, great to hear it's all going well.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing Luke in action again, possibly in July.
July 16th, York Hall. He's definitely on again in an 8th round on July 16th.
Excellent. Thanks for joining me, Paddy.
Yes, brother. Come on.